Hey, and greetings everybody. Welcome back. I know that I've done a couple of these Warlord games miniatures tutorials, mainly on one set of miniatures. I want to do a quick video in case we have a lot of new people doing miniature wargaming for the first time. I know it may not be bolt action, it may be one of the other games like Warhammer 40k, but today we're going to look at the U.S. Army Forward Observer, or Forward Observer Officers. It comes with 3 miniatures today. It looks like you can see them on your video here. What I'm going to cover in this tutorial is a basic miniature cleanup. I know this gets overlooked a lot. A lot of people just really want to throw them in a box, put a layer of spray paint over them, and kind of go to town on them. So the biggest thing about these guys is they come out pretty decent. Warlords has a reasonable sculpt, and you can kind of see some early problems with this guy. Obviously the pistol barrels, the rifle carbine barrels, a little disappointing. Warlord does a good job with the sculpts as far as it puts the mold points. I don't know if you can quite see it, but it puts the mold points kind of on obtuse angles, such as the elbow or the side of the arm. It does get molded in one piece, but you don't see a lot of the flash lines like you do with other miniatures. And yet there are still a few telltale things to get rid of. A lot of people obsess over the barrels. So what we're going to do is really slowly straighten it out. Now, if this is going to get damaged a lot before you paint it, I'd recommend the last step be straightening it out. But if you're pretty much just you're ready to roll and ready to paint right now, then by all means go for it. So we do have a little flash on the barrel. This is a file set from Harbor Freight. It's incredibly cheap. I think it was like $4 for all these files, and you can just go ahead and hit them up with this. There's a couple different files you can use. I'm going to do a large flat area. Obviously I'm going to use the large flat file. Okay, now be careful if you're going to file that area with a lot of detail on it. Most notably the helmets, especially the helmet with the guilly on top of it with the netting. Now this guy here, he's got like a little loop of flash on top, so we can kind of carefully iron that off. Okay. Less is more is definitely when it comes to filing. You don't want to get rid of any major details. If you do leave too much, even after you paint, you can always go back and refile. And that's the nice thing. Sometimes you won't even see major blemishes or major flash marks until you paint. And that's also the beauty of painting and priming. It's definitely better to get it during the priming phase when you're not really concerned about coverage. Okay, so we got that spot, we got a couple other spots. There is a little bit of flash on top. I'm going to switch to a curved file that I can get that flash off a little easier. And again, it may not be visible in this video very well, but once you put that first layer of primer on, you will definitely see it. Those guys are pretty good. Now, you could get a little bit fancy and try and shave away some of the flash area between the straps. These files certainly can do that for you. You just got to be really careful how much you take off. So, and there is a little bit of. I don't generally have to do the netting helmets because it just looks like a stick or something caught in the panic. Second figure is this guy holding the telephone. He's got a little bit of flash on the elbow, so we're just going to paddle that up. right there. And it only took a couple little sand throughs. I mean, this isn't like a large extensive process. These are really good miniatures, by the way. I mean, this is a minimum amount of flash, and I'm not being paid by Warlord to say this, but they definitely have their process down pat. These miniatures could have been made on a Wednesday instead of on a Friday at quitting time, so who knows. But the quality is definitely there. So 2 thumbs up for Warlord for making this tutorial a really easy video to get through. I'm just going to try and loosen up the elbow a little bit. I know that's the panel line. If the elbows, if parts of the miniature seem sharp, then go ahead and file them down a bit. So this guy looks pretty good. Still got a little bit more on the elbow. What I'll do is I'll just straighten that out. There we go. And that blemish is gone. So that's 2 down. This guy's got a little bit of flash on the end of his rifle, which needs to be straightened too, by the way. So make sure you straighten the rifle on all axes. That it's not just straight from the front, but from the side as well. So I'll use the flat file again, which is probably my favorite. There we go. And I also have the round file, which sounds like a garbage can, but it's not. Okay. So that guy is pretty good. Got a little bit of chafe on his map. So we'll file that up. And a little bit of the nub of his rifle. Okay, the last part is if the miniature doesn't sit flat, and now that I've put it down, I actually see a little bit of mold line that needs to be taken care of. But what I was getting ready to say is if the miniature mold has a little bit of flash on the bottom, you definitely want to get rid of that. And it doesn't really matter if you're going to base it on a flat surface or not, because it's still pretty critical that you get enough grip that the miniature is able to be glued to whatever base you're putting on. Okay. And again, you can see just a microscopic amount of flash right there. So of the 3 miniatures, this one's probably got the worst flash lines. I mean, that's not saying much because I didn't even see it until I moved it into a different light. Now, realistically, this is the process that delineates. I mean, you know, painting's important and basing's important, but let me tell you, anybody that's painted really good miniatures and sees flash lines through it, it's like an automatic indicator that maybe the person wasn't as skilled as they seem to be. But if you're going to take the time to do miniatures and really start off correctly, this is what you got to do. Because the first step, this is the most critical step in my opinion of really making your miniatures stand out as far as, you know, not professional grade, but almost museum, game store grade stuff. That you really got to take the extra few minutes before you put that first coat of primer down on these guys to get this right. Okay, and last fella, we'll just touch up around his base. And if you're going to be dipping this guy or put him in some kind of like plaster or stucco or whatever, then you still want to get enough, file enough around it to give it a little bit rough tooth surface so that that stuff has a chance to set up against it. Okay. Well, that's about it. And again, this was the U.S. Army forward observation officers. Basically 3 miniatures with 3 headsets. The comes in this cool little package, and these are the metal miniatures, not the plastic. If you want to see how I don't really have one available right now, but this is the plastic, and this is the metal headset. You can see that the difference is pretty minute. The plastic does look a little bigger. And if you look at some of these headsets, however, and I guess it all depends on which ones you're looking at here. There we go. See? So in comparison to the plastic, it's not they're not terrible. They look a little more 1/48 scale than 25 millimeter. So, all right, and last step. Basically, before I prime these guys, I'm going to give them a massive bath in really, really hot water, because even though they are metal, they were molded in with a mold release, and that does interfere with the whatever paint you're going to put on. So remember, always, always, always wash your miniatures before you paint them. You will avoid a lot of heartache later on. So hopefully you see these guys a little further along in the paint process. But anyway, that's my quick and dirty tutorial video. Tools I would use were X-Acto knife and a Harbor Freight multi-file set. Of course, hot water, and right now, after I bathe these guys, it's going to be a cheap Walmart black spray primer. So that's all you need. Thanks for watching, and please leave any comments, any questions. Have a great day. Alright, just to show you what post-priming looks like, I've done the cleanup. I did put a layer of paint on here. If you want to see how I made this uber awesome base for these guys, you can go to my last series of videos. But what I do like to, after I clean them up, I do prime them as a total, which means I put them on the base. The base was done, and again, this is covered in greater detail. The base was done in coarse pumice gel. It looks a little bit like lava rock here because I used some Krylon primer. And these guys are individually separatable. And I do shoot the whole base so that there's no blank spots. Okay, so that's about it for prepping and priming figures. I do obviously the colors you want to utilize should complement whatever colors you're going to put on. In this case, I wanted the black recesses to show through, but if I were doing like Arctic troops, I surely would use white primer or gray primer, depending on maybe some German gray camouflage. So in general, you're probably only going to use 1 or 2 primers, and that's white or black. And that's about it. I'm going to try and publish this video and get it out. Thanks for watching. If you have any suggestions, or you want me to maybe cover something, if you're a subscriber of mine, which is probably not likely, but if you are, drop me a line, let me know, email or comment, and say, hey, I'd like to see whatever. So good luck, and good luck with your war game painting.